to America and India, then really coming close together 2014 to 23, then taking it all together on a different plane. So, you know, this is unbelievable. That time, you couldn't think of America talking about making fighter jet engines in India. So that's huge. Semiconductors to be made in India. That's huge. Predator drones to be sold to India. That's huge. Now we just need to see timelines of MOUs being actioned on ground.
And hopefully we'll get clarity on that in a few hours from now when the official bilateral, the sit-down meet actually happens. Geeta Mohan is live with us. Geeta, I hope we've been able to establish the connection with you. I can see that there's a lot of crowd, that there's a lot of Modi chants in the air. So obviously it's very hard for our reporters to hear us amid all of that noise and that celebration. But I also want to talk about, you know, we've spoken of the bilaterals, the White House welcome. What comes later on tonight for us, Geeta, and later in the day for you is the address by the Prime Minister to the US Congress, the second time that he's going to be doing that, and that too will be keenly watched.
Well, absolutely, because it's the speech that is going to be significant. There were some people we were talking to late last night, and when asked about what the content of the speech is going to be, see, America has been concerned about the war. Even at the G20 meeting and the summit level meeting in Indonesia, it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who said this is not an era of war. And there could be some significant statement here at the joint meeting of the Congress as well, where certain concerns of America in terms of why India stands and what of India's stance could also be mentioned. But India is playing a very important role in how to bring about unity in a world that now seems absolutely polarized. Before I toss back to you, let me just show you what we were talking about just a while ago. Those are visuals. If you can see right behind the people over here who are waving are the Indian and American flags, and we have the American forces who are holding up those flags. This is in preparation for the Guard of Honor that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be receiving. These are the very same men who will be carrying these flags and will walk across to the lawns over here where the Guard of Honor would be received by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A very significant moment because only the third time we are looking at a state visit and an important one. But yes, after the bilateral meetings, if you look at the substance of the relationship and the visit, there is much more to the relationship than just the bilateral conversations and the agreements, because the agreements take place even when an official and a working visit takes place. And we've been here at the White House every time Prime Minister Narendra Modi has come visiting, and it just is different this time because his packed schedule includes joint meeting, addressing the joint meeting of the Congress, and then the state banquet in the evening, which again is only accorded to those guests or delegation who arrive for a state visit. The joint meeting of the Congress is going to be interesting. While there are many congressmen and lawmakers who've already written, who've already put out video statements welcoming Prime Minister Modi. Yeah. This is a relationship that America wants to invest in. And why so is because India has become important at a time when America faces absolute aggression from Russia when it comes to the Europe war, or for that matter China in the Indo-Pacific and the Taiwan Straits. So for America, India today is more important than how India perceives a multipolar world where America is just another important strategic partner.
Very true. Very true. And I also want to bring in Rahul Kaval on this. Rahul, of all the deals that have been inked, you know, the jet engine deal, you've got the Artemis Accords, joint India-NASA space mission in 2024. What's got you most pumped, most excited?
From Kashmir to here. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Srinivas Tupakari. I'm from Virginia. So we are so excited. People are all over from the US are here. And we are very proud that Modi ji is addressing joint Congress session. He is the third person to do it. It is a proud moment for all of us. Hey!
Hi! Vivek Gaudi from Houston, Texas. After Howdy Modi with 50,000 people, we're here at the White House. Amazing event. Modi ji Zindabad.
Hello, Vivek Chaturvedi from Ohio. I'm from Hindu Action for Hindu Advocacy in the USA. Proud to be here for His Honor Prime Minister Modi. So, thank you.
Hi there. So, we have come all the way from Canada. We are coming from Toronto. My name is Daivat, and we are so excited to see him. This is the first state visit of Modi.
Hey, I am from California. We are very proud to be here to visit this welcome ceremony of our Prime Minister Mr. Modi. Thank you.
We've come all the way from LA. We are so proud, Modi ji. Hey, Modi ji.
Right here from Washington, D.C. Welcome, Modi ji. So proud of you. Rahul, you look awesome.
We are from Philadelphia. We are very honored to be here. Congratulations, Modi ji. Make India more stronger.
Rahul ji, आप तो अच्छे वाले Rahul ji हो. We just want to pass the message from you. Actually, there are a couple of people come over here and make some nonsense thing. Please don't do that. And if they bring 100 people, we bring 10,000 people for Modi ji. Thank you very much.
I'm from Toronto, Canada. We came all the way, drove 10 hours to see Modi ji. It's an honor, the third head of a state to get a state dinner. It's a really big privilege, and it's amazing to be here.
This is Pradeep Singh Sengar. I am here to witness Modi's historical welcome arrival ceremony. It's a very energetic environment. And
So we are from D.C. and we are here to welcome Modi ji. Thank you so much. Yeah, you look awesome today.
So we all are here from Toronto to welcome Modi ji, and it's an honor. Yeah, we have come from Toronto especially for this event. Thanks to Modi ji.
10-hour drive.
10 hours drive, and we all are here because of that. Thank you so much.
Hello. Yeah, we are coming from Washington D.C. area. We live in Virginia, and we basically from Hyderabad. But now we came to witness the world's oldest and largest democracies get together, Modi and Biden. Thank you very much.
We're proud of Modi.
It's a historic moment for India and America both because it's the second time he is going to address U.S. Congress.
Modi is the best.
Modi is the best.
Modi hai to mumkin hai. Everything is possible if Modi is here.
We are here, we are from Chicago, and we are going to tell the world that it is a Tina factor. There is no other alternative. Mr. Modi is the world leader.
Thank you so much. No, I was hoping that I get the mic back at some time. But I know you guys are doing a great job. And thank you very much. You guys are doing a great job. I was just wondering if I would ever get the mic back. The golden mic is finally back with us. And I'm also glad that you managed to get a sample of some of the reactions from people, many of them coming from California, Canada. That's a fair distance away to be here at the White House this morning to see Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the American president. They've obviously felt the passion, they feel the emotion, which is why they made all the effort of coming down here. With this, let me take you back to the studios.
Rahul, thanks for getting us those voices. Many of them excited to meet Prime Minister Modi, many of them excited to meet you as well, Rahul. But it was good to hear all of them speaking out, talking about where they've come from, because it really gives you a sense of the excitement on ground as well. But Rahul, you know, even as we focus on it, these are, by the way, all the Indian diaspora members who are not going to be a part of the event. They've just gathered there to catch a glimpse of the Prime Minister. You've been there several times, Rahul. You've been a part of the Prime Minister's visits previously, reporting on it, covering on it. Is the excitement this time at an all-time high when compared to before? I don't think Rahul Rahul can hear me. Let me take that across to Geeta. Geeta, you've covered several of the Prime Minister's visits to the United States. Is this one particularly got the Indian diaspora more pumped, more kicked than the previous ones?
Is that question for me, Akshita?
Yes, Geeta, yes.
Well, it is absolutely different. Unlike any other prime ministerial visit, where we have seen and witnessed a lot of significant conversations, a lot of significant agreements and deals being signed, but none in terms of the color and the optics that you're seeing. The White House and the Biden administration have gone out of their way to show the kind of rousing welcome that the Indian Premier is going to get over here.
Okay, we've lost a connection with Geeta. Rahul is still with us. Rahul, you've been getting us a sense of the mood on ground. So many people who've come there, and as organic as it gets, because from the voices, you got us, many of them of their own will have decided to come there from different parts of America, from Canada as well, to just catch a glimpse of the Prime Minister, unheard of perhaps in American politics.
Well, not entirely unheard of. I mean, Barack Obama was massively popular. We saw some scenes where people were doing some pretty, crazy things to be a part of what he was doing, but very, very difficult to come by. And remember, this isn't a leader who's flush from a new victory. Here's a man who's now been in power for close to 10 years. And if you have this level of enthusiasm amongst your supporters after being in power for 10 years, that is a special connection that Prime Minister Modi continues to enjoy. And this is here in the United States, and these really aren't even his voters. I mean, they're his supporters, and they have some influence, say, back home from wherever they come, some from Bengal, some from Uttarakhand, like all over the place really. But that level of enthusiasm and that emotional connect with people of Indian origin, Indian nationals across the world is really, Akshita, one of the biggest assets that the Prime Minister has, is that very, very deep, abiding connect, which just seems to go on and holds him in good stead, and is one of the biggest amplifiers and boosters of the India-America relationship.
Rahul, if you can hear me, one hand you've got all of this excitement, the optics, the photo ops and whatnot, but it comes down to really the business at hand and all of the deals that will be inked. Very, very significant visit on that front as well. And I know the visit hasn't ended, that you've got a lot more coming, but so far, Rahul, what to you has been the biggest takeaway, keeping in mind also the announcement on the deals that have been inked a few hours ago?
I must just tell you that maybe because the signals are being impacted because of all the radio frequency jammers that I hear with all the security that's in place, I'm now not fully able to hear. Plus, they're turning up the music. As we get closer to 10 a.m. Eastern time here in Washington, D.C., the level of the music goes on, so I hear you less and less. But I hear the people behind us more and more, and their level of support and enthusiasm is quite high. And this despite the fact that it's beginning to rain more strongly. The rain continues to get stronger and stronger, and despite that, the level of enthusiasm amongst people stays very high. Hey, hi guys, where you've come from?
We're from Washington, D.C., and we're so excited to welcome Prime Minister.
How do you think the Prime Minister's visit is going so far?
I hear it's going really well. I heard he had a lovely time in New York.
And he had a good time in D.C. last evening as well.
Yes.
What's been the highlight of this trip for you?
This is, for me, a dream which became true. My son is in the Indian Army as Colonel. I'm really proud parent to come and visit.
How nice. Where is your son posted, ma'am?
Now he is posted in Coimbatore.
How nice.
We are very, very blessed to have him here.
Fantastic. Where are you from, sir?
I'm from Virginia. We are very happy Modi is here. We welcome him.
It's good to have you.
We came from IASA. We know each other. Purnima Warrior, we met before in Davos Economic Forum. I'm very well.
You're wearing a lovely sari. How's the dress? How's the day been for you? It's raining, but I see that's not impacting the enthusiasm of everyone who's here at all.
nothing can dampen the enthusiasm of 7,000 Indians present in the South Lawn of the White House. And we are all so excited and waiting to get a glimpse of Modi ji. This is a moment of pride. You see a princess from Nigeria here with our group. She's wearing a hat. Let me take you, if you want to come a little bit this side.
You can request her to come this side. I don't think I'll be allowed over there. Okay, yeah, sure. We can see some people at the back as well. Okay, just one second. Sir, yes. Where are you from?
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, good.
What's been the highlight of the Prime Minister's trip for you so far?
So this is a historical visit, and on behalf of Federation of Indian Association, we are in 8 states. We are the largest umbrella organization welcoming Prime Minister. This is a historic event that everybody's thrilled about this. And Prime Minister's message is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. World is one family. All together, prosperity, peace and love, which we're seeing here. And I believe that our Prime Minister is a Yug Purush of the century, and he will lead the world in the right direction.
It's interesting. High pace for the Prime Minister. Ma'am, you've come from Nigeria.
Hi.
Hello, it's lovely to see you.
Yes, my name is Princess Philomena Desmond Ogugwa.
Oh, how nice.
I'm from the Igbo tribe in Nigeria.
Lovely to meet you.
Yes.
So what brings you here this morning?
I'm a Modi fan.
Really? Why are you a Modi fan?
Because I see the good things he's doing in India.
What do you think he's done in India?
The economic development, trying to bring all tribe and all religion together, making everybody to be saying, I'm proudly Indian. You could see in the United States now, most of the Fortune 500 companies, all of them are run by Indians. It's because of the trust.
Partners today.
It's because of the trust. And I have been in India many times.
Yeah.
I've worked with the Association of Businesswomen Entrepreneurs of India. I've brought them to United States to meet their counterparts. And I have taken African businesswomen also to India. And in my country, Nigeria of origin, there are a lot of Indians. Most of them are now Nigerians. And they own their businesses 100% in India, in Nigeria. They are good people. We love them. Most of them are Africans by birth. Their great-grandparents, you see them in Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, all over.
Great to meet you, and thank you so much. And I wish you all the best. I hope you have a great day.
Yes,
thank you. Cheers. Yes.
They want to get the second generation Indians right there.
Okay, let me try and she's sending me towards you to see if we can try and get a word in. Okay, I'm going to give you the mic. You can say something and then give the mic back to me, okay? Last time I lost the mic for a very long time. Okay, here you go. Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah.
What's been the highlight of the trip so far for you?
Oh, just seeing him there and waiting for him for hours now. So we're just waiting to see him.
Hi, we're here from New York City. We're so excited to be here. We grew up in the U.S., and so it's nice for us to be here and be able to blend our cultures.
Hi, I'm Anjali Boria from Denver, Colorado. We have New York here and Michigan here. We're so excited to be here and proud to be Indian American.
I'm from Michigan and so proud to be an Indian and American. We love Modi ji.
I am from California, Silicon Valley. We are 14 of us staying here together. We have come to celebrate this occasion.
I'm from New Jersey. We travel at like morning 2 a.m. We are here for Modi. We are here for Modi.
My name is Vikas. I am from New Jersey, originally from Jaipur, Rajasthan. Big fan of Prime Minister Modi. Thank you for covering us.
Hello, I am Sheila Ramanan, Tamil Nadu newspaper Dinamalar. I came from San Antonio. Happy to be here.
I just want to go across for a moment. Stay. I promise to come back to you in just a moment. I want to go across to Ashwani Vaishnav. Ashwani Vaishnav is India's Minister for Telecom, IT, Railways. Mr. Vaishnav, we're currently at the South Lawns of the White House, waiting for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to come here with the American President in a short while from now. And I want to spend a moment with you about this big Micron announcement. $850 million, the CEO of Micron announcing they'll be investing in India. So can you give our viewers a sense of what this means in tangible terms? Where is this Micron investment likely to be made? By when will we see their manufacturing beginning, and why do you think this is as big a deal, and how does this rank with all the efforts you've been making so far in trying to get India's semiconductor mission going? Minister Vaishnav, welcome.
Rahul, the semiconductor industry is one industry in which India and US have decided to have a strategic partnership. We have common interest, we have common goals, and there is a huge talent base out here in India. The entire US semiconductor industry also has a large number of Indian technical leadership. All that is today combined into a system where India and US will be co-creating technologies. There will be two countries will become one strategic partnership in which we will be looking at multiple options in semiconductor development. You are aware that Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji had approved a policy for semiconductor development in India that is progressing very well. You should be anticipating some good announcements to be made tomorrow, and those announcements will lay a very strong foundation for India's semiconductor industry.
Why is this so significant? I mean, there are a couple of things that I want to build on. One, the fact that there is a semiconductor glut in terms of manufacturing capacity worldwide. So you already have a lot more manufacturing capacity than required. Secondly, India comes in very late into the semiconductor party because we're already several years behind semiconductor technological developments. How much time do you think it would take for India to catch up? And this concern that's been voiced by some skeptics about there being overcapacity existing, and therefore if our hope is to make India a semiconductor hub, manufacturing hub, how likely is that, given that there is globally in China and elsewhere a big oversupply? Minister.
See, semiconductor industry is practically doubling in the next 7 to 8 years. It's $650 billion today. It's going to be 1 trillion plus in the coming years. The current dip that you see, that is not reflecting the secular growth of the consistent growth of the industry. Today, the demand for semiconductors is increasing in practically every manufacturing sector, every industrial sector. What we are seeing today is when the world is looking for a trusted global value chain partner, India is filling that place. India is emerging the most important ecosystem partner in semiconductors. There are 4 reasons for that. First, the large talent base and our commitment to develop 80,000 more engineers over the next 10 years. And we have taken very consistent steps in that. Second, a very strong electronics manufacturing industry, which is today 100 billion plus. So domestic demand is increasing day by day. More industries are coming, more component manufacturers are coming, IT hardware is coming. All that is clearly visible to the world. Third, the strategic partnership between India and US. Fourth, the very strong design base that we have in the country today. Combine all this with the thoughtful ecosystem development that our government is doing under Prime Minister Modi ji's leadership. The world today sees India as the natural big semiconductor manufacturer in the coming years. So whatever we are seeing today are the first steps and the major steps which are building the foundation, which are creating the ecosystem. We should not repeat the mistakes that many countries did. The countries which did not focus on ecosystem could not go beyond a point. That's why our focus is very much on getting the units and in parallel building the ecosystem.
Minister Vaishnav, India isn't a formal alliance partner of the United States and never likely will be. Despite that, these technological transfers that the US seems to be agreeing to, how significant do you view that as being? For example, I mean, it's not really your ministry, but just broadly, the fact that GE 414 jet engines are being made available to India, and you know what you deal with, emerging and critical technologies as part of the initiative called ISET, a lot of high-end technology which otherwise wouldn't be made available to India now being made available, and that really helps take the India-America relationship to a different level.
Absolutely. There are two aspects of it. One is, of course, some of the critical technologies which India didn't have. Those technologies are now being made available to the country, and we can develop them together. We can manufacture basis that. There is another very important and very crucial point. That point is India and US are today looking at each other as co-creators, co-developers, technological partners of each other. It's not just technology transfer from one country to the other. Take the example of Open RAN. In Open RAN, in telecom, which is the biggest thing which is happening today, India and US are co-developing Open RAN. See the fundamental difference. Alliance, one looks at as, okay, there is one partner, there is another one, right? Which is dependent upon the other partner, which is dependent upon the bigger partner. Here we are looking at two countries which are today technological partners looking at developing technologies together, working on projects which are at cutting edge, where what we develop together will be useful for both and useful for the world. That's the fundamental directional shift which has happened.
Do you want to spend a moment talking about the kind of personal popularity? I want to show you some of the scenes, Minister. I don't know if you can see, but this is a man in his 10th year in office, and the kind of smiles he's bringing to people's face, the kind of enthusiasm that we're seeing, it's quite surreal. It almost feels as if it's part of a film set, except that it's not. These are real people. They've come from California, Texas, many from Canada. They've come from all over. And the interesting thing is that a lot of the people who are ordinarily at the White House, like the Americans, they're very amused. You know, they're looking at this because so many world leaders come and they go, and nobody generates quite this mass hysteria or cult-like popularity which the Indian Prime Minister does. And I'm quite certain that President Biden would be quite envious. This is his lawns after all. This is his house, and the name that's being chanted is not that of the American Prime Minister, but rather that of the Indian not that of the American President, but rather that of the Indian Prime Minister, which would make any Neta quite envious, Minister.
See, Rahul, leadership comes in various forms. There is the highest level of leadership, which I would say is moral authority. When a leader commands respect, generates that level of trust which today Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has developed, he generates trust among people. People believe him, people trust him, people are willing to, you have seen during COVID, on his one sentence, people are willing to do a Janta curfew without deploying a single policeman. That's the trust people have in him. People know that whatever he is going to do is going to be good for the country. That is the trust which is clearly visible in his moral authority, which is attracting people, making them feel so loyal to him all over the world.
Well, we leave it there just for the time being. Thank you very much, Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. You've been through a rough phase, a very challenging phase with that terrible train tragedy in Balasore. But it was quite remarkable how you were out on the ground, holding the fort, trying to, rouse the railway officials. And I just hope that all the lessons that the railways and you've learned will lead to the Indian railways becoming much more safe. In any case, most of the numbers of accident, etc., were showing a declining trend. But to be able to make it as fail-proof as possible. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Really appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you.
So that was the Indian Telecom Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. We're here at the White House where you're now literally counting down. We're just about 40 minutes odd to go for the Indian Prime Minister to come here. The grounds of the White House are now quite full. I see there's a nice little putting range here. I'm not sure if President Biden is much of a golfer and whether he gets a chance to be out there. But there's some nice ideas, there's some nice color visible over here, and hopefully some of this, all the people from the Prime Minister's team and the other who are here, some of the ideas which can be taken back will be taken back. They also have very nice waiting area. Like they have these nice tents where the media can stand and do their lives. I mean, we of course don't have them, which is why I'm out in the rain. But the American media has these very nice long tents, shamiyanas, small shamiyanas. They've got heaters inside over there. They're standing there. They have a backdrop which looks into the White House, but they're all covered. So I think there's some good ideas. If anybody's watching, especially if you're in government, and given the number of messages I'm getting, so clearly a lot of people seem to be watching, please do take these observations very, very seriously. It would be nice to have some of that stuff at Vijay Chowk and elsewhere where everyone, is more comfortable than our reporters are when they're out in the sun, the cold, the winds, the rains at Vijay Chowk. But anyway, no harm suggesting it. Let's see if anything comes off it or not. But clearly, safety, comfort, very, very critical here, so that everybody's not out in the cold and out in the winter. So anyway, let me just turn around. They're all and show you the practice that's going on. There's like a dry run taking everyone through the routines for this morning's program, and in a while from now, the American president will be here. Let's just listen in. Okay, I want to go across now to Elbridge Colby. Elbridge Colby is the co-founder of the Marathon Initiative, a policy initiative focused on developing strategies in the United States for sustained great power competition. He's the author of the Strategy of Denial, American Defense in the Age of Great Power Conflict, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Strategy and Force Development. Elbridge Colby, welcome to India Today's live coverage. I'm broadcasting this morning from the South Lawns of the White House. How much of what we're seeing at this moment between India and the United States is as a reflex to China emerging as the primary threat for both our countries, like the GE 414 technology transfer? Would some of that happen if China hadn't been as big a danger for both countries right now, Mr. Colby?
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you and your audience. Pleasure. I think the answer is honestly yes. Obviously, the two governments are not going to stress this point, but I think one of the things that I actually really appreciate about the foreign policy perspective of the Modi government is its candor and realism, and sort of being unafraid about talking about strategic and geopolitical rivalries. So I'll pay the compliment back, and I wish that we pursued that a little bit more here in Washington. But I think absolutely, look, the United States and India obviously have people-to-people ties, trade, etc., but that's true with many countries, and it has been true for some time. What I think is really driving the relationship is a deep alignment of interests, and actually that is the most stable grounding for a serious long-term relationship, because although it's possible China will collapse, I think it's very, very unlikely. And, I have a very different view from what President Biden said the other day in California. I think China is serious as a heart attack. I think it has an enormous and growing economy. It's competing at the forefront of technology. It's pushing countries around, obviously Philippines and others in the South China Sea, Taiwan, and of course India, where there's been direct clashes along the line of actual control, etc. So I think this is what's really motivating both sides to push. I think the relationship goes back 20 years, the sort of new relationship goes back about 20 years. But for a long time, it was very desultory and kind of plodding. And I think things stepped up in the last couple of years. And to credit this administration, I think this visit and the announcements of it are a major step forward. But I think that's, basically based on an alignment of shared interests.
The American Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, visited Beijing. It seemed as an effort to try and de-escalate mounting tensions and find a way of de-risking, if not disengaging. And soon after, President Biden was quoted as calling Xi Jinping a dictator. Where do you see the trajectory of relations between Beijing and DC go from this moment, on the back of Anthony Blinken's comments and on the back of what the president just said?
Well, I think the thaw, frankly, was mostly a projection from the American side, largely optical and unrealistic. And the Chinese never gave really any impression that there was a thaw. I think the president's comments have, sort of put the sort of formalized what was already going to be inevitable, which was that the rivalry is deep and structural. The United States and China are not going to go to a G2. They're not going to be able to compete while cooperating. This administration line, some elements of the administration that want to cooperate on climate and non-proliferation, because as Xi Jinping says, it basically implies the relationship is essentially zero-sum. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't ways of making it less dangerous. That's important, and I do think it's important to talk, and of course India, Japan, other countries do talk to the Chinese, but we shouldn't be deluded about what's actually going to happen. We are in a very, very dangerous time, and just having a nice meeting, a photo op, by the way, which was, I would say, kind of a supplicant set of photos of Secretary Blinken. It was not a good image. That's not going to change anything fundamental.
There are also the likes of several experts like Ashley Tellers who've come out and struck a discordant note, basically suggesting caution to President Biden, saying that don't expect India to be on your side if China were to attack Taiwan, for example. What are you making of these discordant voices of people who've tracked the India-America relationship but seem to be advocating a point of view quite different from the position the current Biden administration has taken, Mr. Colby?
Well, I'm always hesitant to have a different view, especially on India than Ashley Tellus, because he's really a brilliant person, not only on the India relationship, but more broadly. But I fundamentally disagree with his article on Foreign Affairs. I mean, my impression of the Indian government and its behavior is that it has a very strong stand on China. It's not deliberately provocative or sort of gratuitous, frankly, in the way that President Biden's comments were the other night. It's careful, but it's also firm and strong. I think what I will say is, and I wrote a piece in the Hindustan Times after being in Delhi earlier this year, I do think the Indian government and system should appreciate more the danger of a conflict over Taiwan, because such a conflict, God forbid, if it happened, would be much larger than just a narrow conflict over Taiwan. And if the United States is not prepared, and our allies are not prepared, it could lead to the defeat of the United States in the Western Pacific. And if this happened, China would be essentially uninhibited in its ability to project power into the South Asia and the Indian Ocean area. So the famous comment, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin, one of our founding fathers, said, we can hang separately or we can stand together. And I think it's not that India would contribute militarily to a defense of Taiwan, but I think India should see its interests as directly implicated in a Taiwan conflict, and that it's quite possible in this decade. I mean, the Chinese are building and practicing a military specifically to do that. And I was at the Shangri-La dialogue a few weeks ago in Singapore, and of course they openly say they reserve the right to use force to resolve the issue in their favor.
Alright, they're now playing some Hindi music at the South Lawns of the White House, and the crowds behind me going completely nuts and bonkers. Thank you very much, Mr. Colby, for joining us. I want to see if I can get a word in from Seema Sirohi. Seema! So, this is Seema Sirohi. She's tracked relations here between India and the United States in Washington, D.C. for a very long time. They're playing some Hindi music here, and the crowd seem to be loving it. The rains don't matter.
Yeah, I mean, this time the rally is at the White House, not in Chicago or Atlanta or New York.
Why do something at Houston or at Madison Square Garden when you can do a virtual rally on the lawns of the South?
Right. I mean, I'm just amazed at the number of people who have braved the rain and come through security and been here for hours.
So you track other visits as well, Seema, here when other world leaders come. How is it different? I see a lot of the officials who are at the White House, the security guys and the protocol guys, they're looking very amused. They've not seen something like this.
They haven't. And there's a little bit of Bollywood flavor. I mean, it's It's masala visit, really.
But as far as the substance of this trip is concerned, the announcements around GE 414, what else are you expecting would be announced through the day today?
I think there'll be many steps announced in terms of defense cooperation. One of the biggest hurdles that has been in this relationship is the export controls. So this time the Biden administration is taking real measures to bring those down. And that's going to be very important. And there'll be announcements for cooperation in space. And both NASA and ISRO are going to...
I really like that they've got this music, they've got a nice buzz and feel, they've got a carnival-like atmosphere to the whole thing. Doesn't feel like a formal, stodgy visit. Let me...
This is my favorite song.
Seema Siro is joining the rally as well.
No, this is an old-time favorite.
I think some of these ideas we could take back, right? Because it just makes it that much more real. It's not like all very proper and stuck up.
A lot of thought went into this, welcome ceremony. They've been working at it for months. Choosing the music, choosing the delicacies for dinner. I mean, they really worked hard.
Thanks, I'm going to catch you in just a moment, okay? Yes? Okay, I'm going to give you the mic, okay? Yeah. Are you're grooving to Chaya Chaya? Modi, 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 Modi is the
आज सिर्फ मोदी, आज सिर्फ मोदी.
Modi is a Vishwa Guru. He is the leader of the whole world.
So,
India is rising. India is rising. We want India and America to be best friend in the world. We want the transfer of technology to the India for defense power, energy power, healthcare power. We love Narendra Modi. We love the oldest democracy, the biggest democracy in the world. We're proud of Narendra Damodar Modi.
Mr. Modi is a global leader, and we want Mr. Modi to establish the peaceful relationships with our neighboring countries and with the United States. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This, as Seema just said, is the rally coming to the White House. This is quite different from, frankly, what I'd imagined when we came here. It's also quite different from what happens when you go to Rashtrapati Bhavan or to the Indian Parliament. They're singing, they're dancing, they're doing a Chaya Chaya number here. To Salvatore Babones. He joins us on this broadcast. Mr. Babones, these are quite surreal scenes. I thought I've seen in my time quite a few surreal scenes, but this is taking it to a whole different plane. What are you making of the announcements that have been made so far as part of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Washington, D.C.?
Technology sharing is clearly an important step in the relationship. It does represent a certain level of trust. Now, partly it also is because of limited manufacturing capacity in the United States. So if the United States is going to sell those GE engines to India, they probably have to be made in India, or India would have to wait a decade to get them. So in a way, it's not surprising. But on the other hand, it is a show of confidence in India, in its democratic institutions, confidence that India is a safe place for United States technology to be manufactured. This is notably different, for example, from the relationship between Russia and China. Russia suspended jet engine sales to China about a decade ago because they were worried about China reverse engineering its engines and ultimately stealing its technology. With India, there just aren't those concerns. And this is something I've been writing about really for the past 3 years or so, that India is able to work with Western partners like France, like the United States, because India has a rule of law regime that is very different not only from China, but from most of the developing world.
also seeing some pushback now around some of these rankings that have been coming out, and you, Mr. Babones, have been, very key part of that pushback. There are some discordant voices asking the Biden administration to do more in terms of questioning what's happening in India, and quite sensibly, the Biden administration focusing on what is really important, trying to build this relationship with India and try and take it to the next plane, rather than getting caught with those few voices on the margins who would seek to create trouble at a time of immense, geopolitical competition with China.
There is a lot of mendacity in the rankings. Now, I don't think many Americans are very aware of the democracy rankings, but what seems to have caught traction on Capitol Hill in the U.S. is the idea that Muslims face severe repression in India. Now, we have very good data to show that that's not true. Usually these kind of allegations go out into the ether, and who knows if they're true or false. And, Congress people pick them up because their constituents say that, this is a problem. Their constituents go to them, their funders go to them and ask them to condemn India because of its supposed repression of Muslims. But in fact, we have very good data on Muslims themselves in India. Indian Muslims tell us on surveys that they face very little discrimination. Indian Muslims tell us on surveys that they're free to practice their religion in India. And India's Muslims on surveys tell us that they're extraordinarily proud to be Indian. So this is something I really want to get across to the Indian audience, that the problems with American politicians picking up a narrative of Muslim oppression in India, that does not originate with India's own Muslims. That narrative originates with Muslim Americans, often from other countries. I mean, most notoriously, Ilhan Omar, the U.S. representative from Minnesota, she's a Somali refugee to the United States. She has no connection to India whatsoever, as far as I know. And yet she's saying that Muslims face a genocide in India in the 2020s. Now, that kind of talk is really ridiculous, but it doesn't originate in India. And that's the message I really want to get out.
Thanks, Mr. Babones, for joining us. I just want to walk up for a moment and try and show our viewers some of the scenes here, because when you're up, you actually get a much better view of what's happening. Oh, just 2 minutes? 2 minutes? Okay, the security lady doesn't want me to go up, but it's actually very nice if I could have taken you up. But we will follow what the lady is saying, and that's no problem. It's getting quite packed, and as I said, they're just playing American numbers, they're playing Bollywood numbers, and the rally has come to the White House. It'll be interesting to see how President Biden makes this. These ultimately are his lawns. We're in his official house, and it feels like a very desi party. It feels like a very, very big desi party being held on the lawns of the White House this morning. Let's go back with this to the studio.
Well, we're going to keep coming back to you, but a carnival-like atmosphere there. In just about 20 minutes, there will be a ceremonial welcome where the Prime Minister is concerned, the Indian Prime Minister is concerned at the White House. The White House clearly pulling out all the stops to welcome Prime Minister Modi. It's a state visit, the highest level of diplomatic protocol rolled out by the United States of America, which is accorded to Mr. Modi. He'll be given in just a short while, viewers, in about 20 minutes from now, as per protocol, Prime Minister Modi will be given a ceremonial welcome at the White House before he holds direct talks with the President of the United States, Joe Biden. To put this in perspective, what we saw yesterday, the yoga, soft power diplomacy, the fine print, the language of that also changing. But what we are going to see today is going to be very hard talk when it comes down to defense deals, most of them unprecedented, historic. We're going to delve into that in just a short while from now. But I just want to take our viewers through on what we can expect. And as Rahul Kawal and Geeta Mohan, my colleagues who've been joining us right outside the White House, they'll be reeling as the events unfold there. What to expect? Well, like I pointed out, 20 minutes from now, Prime Minister Modi will be given a ceremonial welcome inside the White House. If outside is a carnival-like atmosphere with the Indian diaspora, some of them have come in all the way from Canada to welcome the Indian Prime Minister. A sense of jubilation. For many, it's India's moment, historic, with at many levels. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But what we're expecting, a ceremonial welcome in the next 20 minutes for the Prime Minister at the White House. After that, there will be bilateral talks which will be held between Prime Minister Modi and President Joe Biden. And that is where defense deals, which practically are the core of the state visit of Prime Minister Modi to America. And some of them historic, to say the least, especially when it comes down to jet engine partnership, which would be made in India. America would be sharing their technology with jet engines when it comes down to a partnership there, and will be produced in India. After that, there will be a state dinner, a meeting with CEOs, an address to a joint session of Congress, which is historic, with the address of the Prime Minister where the joint session of the Congress is concerned. The Indian Prime Minister would only be the only Prime Minister of India to address the joint session twice. And before that, there have only been two, and that honor belongs to Mr. Churchill and Mr. Nelson Mandela. But, before we get down to what we're going to expect, which is a ceremonial welcome at the White House for the Prime Minister, I want to cut across back and take you through all the reactions that have been recorded through the course of the evening, where you see the Indian diaspora understandably very, very excited at what is India's moment right now in history.